Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture. See how those incidents affect our daily lives. Listen, baby, I told y'all when things come out, I'm going to make sure I'm here. And baby, yesterday is so much news, Marvel news. I cannot cover it all in one video, but I can cover what I can cover, y'all. All right, so let's get to it. Yesterday, uh, Tatiana Siegel for Variety wrote an article in regards to Marvel and the crises at Marvel. And the title of the article is Crisis at Marvel: Jonathan Majors' Backup Plan, The Marvels Reshoot, Reviving Original Avengers, and More Issues Revealed. Now, I'm going to cover this article in the Nut House because, again, this is not my wheelhouse, but it has information on a story that I have been covering, Jonathan Majors. So I am going to go over this article really quickly. Basically, this article talks about how the bigwigs at Marvel met up for their annual creative studio and how they were going over all the information and all the things that were going on in Marvel, because we have seen probably in the past year and a half, particularly due to the pandemic and other things, that the output at Marvel has the quality of the output of Marvel has not been that good. They've had some hits like Shang-Chi. Uh, for me, I did like Moon Knight, but for the other things like She-Hulk and all those other things, there was not a clear-cut vision of what was going on, and a lot of Marvel fans were upset. A lot of Marvel fans are upset because apparently, with Disney in the company under Bob Chapek, uh, you know, let's just be clear, a lot of superhero movies are loved and beloved by males, by men, and the influx of what the white community has debunked as the woke mob and the woke this, even though they're using the terminology wrong. But the influx of women, the influx of minorities, the influx of uh, what they have deemed that traditionally white characters being played by minorities, the influx of a whole bunch of different things, they believe have plagued the quality of the Marvel's films. But I just think it's a lot of that has to do with the writing and the behind the scenes stuff, because there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened over at Marvel. But this article touched on that. This article also touched on the fact that they are back there scrambling, even wanting to revive the first original Avengers. They also talked about The Marvels, which is a movie that's coming out, I think, next week, how it was plagued with a lot of reshoots, and how the director, basically in the back end or the middle of post production, the had left the production. So it's a lot of stuff like that. They do not see the Marvels making anywhere near the money that the Marvels that Captain Marvel made back in what, 2018, 2019. So it talked about that, and it also talked about the Jonathan Majors uh, trial, and how they had based their whole, what is it, phase 5 or phase 6 behind the villain Kang, and with Jonathan Majors' legal issues that are coming up, which they thought was going to be over, uh, I think back in August or June. Now it's creeping up into November, and apparently they are supposed to start shooting for another Avengers movie in February. And so he's going to be in trial from the end of November, probably going into December. So I don't see that trial lasting a week. But because he's going to be in trial, and plus it could be highly that he could be convicted of the charges that has been laid against him, they are scrambling, not necessarily scrambling, but they are actively plan B. looking for a new villain to fill up that void that might be left by Jonathan Majors, because the charges that he has been charged with right now can lead him into jail for up to a year. All right. They talked about that in this article. I don't, like I said, this is not my wheelhouse, but they did mention some things in this article that I wanted to go over. Uh, Here, I've got to pull it up. They had an executive that came out and said, and I quote, or they call him a top deal maker, who says that Marvel is truly effed with the whole Kang angle, says one top deal maker who has seen the final Loki episode. And they haven't had an opportunity to rewrite until very recently because of the WGA strike. But I don't see a path to how they move forward with him. Beyond the bad press for Majors, the brain trust at Marvel is also grappling with the November release of The Marvels. You remember I just talked about that. Uh, but I still want to read that. A sequel to the 2019 blockbuster Captain Marvel that has been plagued with lengthy reshoots and now appears to likely underwhelm at the box office. Baby, this is all an unprecedented turn of fortune for a company that has enjoyed a nearly uninterrupted string of hits since it started independently producing its movies with 2008's Iron Man. That wildly profitable one culminated in the $2.8 billion success of 2019's Avengers Endgame, a high watermark for the studio that has earned nearly $30 billion with 32 movies. So if you average that out, that's saying that each movie could average, high or low, we about $800 million a movie. Mm. And to think that a movie earning under $500 million is a flop for Marvel. Oh my. So let me go. Yeah. They talked about that they thought it was the wrong move for Marvel to invest in streaming. And I guess at that time, because of the pandemic and everybody was home, everyone thought that streaming was going to be a good idea, but not recognizing that after a while, people are going to be outside, you know. So it also talked about, again, when I said earlier that there was a lot of reshoots and a lot of problems with this Marvel's movie. They also talked about the Blade movie. And it don't look like we finna get the Blade movie, y'all. They have been plagued with rewriting scripts, the first director leaving, all of these different things. Now they announced Blade, when was it? 2018, 2019? And Blade was supposed to come out in 2022. So it doesn't look like Blade is coming. It doesn't look like Blade is coming. They have pulled the plug on a lot of different things that they said that were coming out. Particularly, oh, I'm trying to get to this. We won't talk about that right now. But they also talked about too. You remember earlier this year when Victoria Alonso was let go, or they had Marvel and her had parted ways, and she was over post production, and they talked about how she was terrorizing the VXF, the special effects unit of Marvel through all its because Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and all these different things, and how basically it was shoddy quality of work, particularly because you're trying to get everything to streaming, and that suffered because we saw that on She-Hulk. We kind of saw that a little bit in Shang-Chi. We saw that a little bit in a couple of other things too, where the visual quality wasn't there. And so they talked about that. And it didn't help that the writers went on strike. It didn't help at all that the writers went on strike and then the actors went on strike. All right, so here we go. with Iger publicly acknowledging the downside of a Marvel TV glut that diluted focus and attention. The keepers of the comic book empire are considering some dramatic moves. Sources say they have been in talks to bring back the original gang for the Avengers, which is interesting because Tony Stark is dead, and Cap is in a whole new universe. This will also include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, and both of them were killed off the end of Endgame. That's going to be interesting. The studio hasn't committed to the idea, but they're figuring that money that they possibly would pay for Iron Man, which they were paying Tony Stark about 20 plus million dollars. They're figuring that they'd pay him $25 million to come back just to revive the studio. And they're saying, now, will that solve the Marvel Majors problem? When the quantum when the Quantum Mania actor was arrested in March, Disney executives insisted that they could afford to play the wait and see game, given that Avengers Kang Dynasty wasn't expected to begin shooting until early 2024. But then Majors was dropped in quick successions by his publicists and managers. He remains a client at WME, the agency where he landed after the CAA parted ways with him pre arrest. So they brought out some more information that, excuse me, y'all, because remember, it was announced in April that his management and his publicist had left, but apparently they had left prior to that. Now, according to Variety, they said that they left because his brutal conduct towards staff. Now, what that actually means is in quotations. It's quoted by from a source. We don't know exactly what that means. The image that it leaves out is that he was out here uh, fussing and cussing, and was he putting hand, feet, and toes? We don't know, but that's brutal conduct gives you this wide berth to figuring out what it is. But let's continue. Uh, they talked about his domestic violence case in New York. And they're saying that because of his legal issues, that Marvel is just basically considering moving away from Jonathan Majors. Now, back in October, they pulled, Disney bought the rights to Magazine Dreams, and then they pulled it from the release calendar because it was supposed to come out, I think, this month. This is November. It was supposed to come out this month. They talked about recasting Majors, which is interesting because you couldn't recast Chadwick Boseman in T'Challa when you had a pretty good right to do that. But they're talking about recasting, and they brought up how they recasted Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle. It's interesting how they could talk about recasting then, but they couldn't recast a character whose actor had passed away. R.I.P. Chadwick. So this put in a lot of information in regards to what's going on at Marvel. And then, y'all, I'm going to end this video here. I am going to start a new video because apparently Rolling Stones has put out another article in regards to Jonathan Majors that I wanted to go over. But tell me what you thought about this. Tell me what you thought about this article. Have you read the Variety article? Have you seen what's going on in regards to Marvel? Are you Marvel fans? What do you think about the Marvels? Do you think that it would make at least $100 million at the box office? They paid $250 million for it. Do you think that it would see its return, making 300 some $million? Let me know. Let me know. What do you think Marvel needs to do to recover from this? Y'all let me know down in the comments. Again, we do this every week. Every week. I thank you all so much for rocking with me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. And as always, people, bye bye.